I am a youth entrepreneur, and I am here for the BizConnect today because it sounds really exciting, and I want to see what's going on. What I want to get away, I want to get a good experience. That's what I want to get out of this.
Well, I'm in my entrepreneur class, and I signed up for this to hopefully get some more business experience and hopefully be able to learn how to start my own business someday. I've learned it takes a lot of time and a lot of preparation. You have to keep at it and make up a business plan and keep it going and put a lot of thought into it.
Well, tonight I am here as one of the MCs for tonight's event, and I have the great honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Jeff Taylor of PT Coffee. I'm really excited because I was a YE student, took the course my sophomore year of high school, and I've just been an advocate ever since. Well, one of the most important things I learned from YE is how to network. That is extremely valuable, and I've used it pretty much since the day I met it, or learned it, you could say. And another thing that I think I've really learned a lot about is how to be professional, how to dress professional, a lot about business etiquette, and really useful tools that I've used throughout my career so far.
You know, as I was preparing for this event, I had to stop and kind of reflect on my life because oftentimes I don't see myself as an entrepreneur. I own a business. So I had to stop and reflect on what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And so I think the things I really want to instill in these guys is what I'm going to talk about tonight. And to sum that up, it would be basically have courage, have confidence, and be creative. The business aspects take care of themselves. Those are the three elements you have to be in business. Actually, there's one very simple principle I learned from a friend of mine a long time ago, and he calls it RTM. And that is when you're running a business, you have 150 things to do. He operates and I operate on kind of an RTM system, which is right this minute. So if something comes up, I don't wait, I don't put it on a list and deal with it tomorrow or the next day. It's done, I just deal with it right now and get it off my plate.
Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? Yep. Yes. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. It is so fun for me to look out into this crowd and to see all of these faces. Last year with this event, we maybe only had a third of you. So we've really put a lot of effort and time into our Topeka program, and we've reaped some great rewards. We're extremely excited to see you all here tonight. Thank you, students, because I see a lot of students, and that is amazing. Thank you for being here. I'm Kylie Stupka. I'm the Executive Director of Youth Entrepreneurs. I've been with the Youth Entrepreneurs Organization for 7 years. This is the best student turnout we've had at a Topeka event in my 7 years, and I'm so extremely excited to see you all here. We believe we've been doing this for 23 years. Youth Entrepreneurs has been around for 23 years. Yes, the class in schools is amazing, right? Just all of you know, you've got amazing teachers. Let's all give our teachers a round of applause, right? But we want you to not only remember that, we want you to remember this, right? We want you to remember the importance of networking. We want you to understand that sometimes, as sad as some of you may think it is not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. So if you can become one of those people that knows people, and if you can become one of those people that knows who to call when you have a question, who to call when you have a concern, that's going to put you just that step ahead of the person next to you that's maybe vying for that same position, vying for that same capital injection. Whatever it is that you're vying for, if you've got the connections, you're that much further ahead. So we're super excited that you're here, that you're learning that very important skill. Our BizConnects are about connecting community and connecting our students. BizConnect, right? That's why we're here tonight. So all of y'all had an opportunity to do a fun networking game, right? I saw once we said, hey, there's prizes involved, everybody hopped up and started networking. Awesome. If you know, before you're done with this class, you'll understand about markets, and you'll understand about free enterprise, and you'll understand that incentives are in place for a reason. So we do incent you all to please take part and to understand how those are going to help you with your trade and exchange someday along the way. So those of you who've got your sheets, if you've not turned them in, do you have sheets that are filled out that have not been turned in? Raise them. Okay. Priscilla, Mr. Moore, they'll come around and pick them up for you. The other thing that we're very excited about here in Topeka are the amount of local entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things. So I guess if you don't have them filled out, don't turn them, right?
Just in case she goes scoot out the back.
Local entrepreneurs doing great things locally. And we have one of them with us tonight. We're super, super excited to get him up here on the stage. But in order to do that, I need you to meet one of the alum that has been an amazing part of Youth Entrepreneur Success. She will, please catch her and talk to her. She will tell you about how she took advantage of opportunities like this to network and to meet and to get to know people, and where that has catapulted her to in her career in life. We're very, very proud of our MC this evening, who will introduce our speaker, Ms. Caitlin Truesdell.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Caitlin Truesdell, and I'm very honored to be here tonight. Just to think how awesome it is that I took YE my sophomore year of high school, and here I am, a junior in college, and still involved with the program and still able to do a lot of great things and get involved with our community. I do have the amazing honor tonight to introduce our tonight's keynote speaker, Jeff Taylor, co-founder, CEO, and director of coffee of PT's Coffee Roasting Company. Now, PT's Coffee Roasting Company is recognized for award-winning small lot coffees. Jeff spent many years weaving a narrative with his pictures as a photojournalist, which, by the way, were in some well-known national publications. Jeff now utilizes his knowledge to benefit his more recent endeavor by traveling to meet with coffee producers in Central and South America and Africa to experiment, source, and evaluate the harvest from each farm and develop a strategy of partnering on social projects for PT's Coffee. He has an amazing story to share with all of you. And so please, without further pause, let's give him a warm welcome and a round of applause for Jeff Taylor with PT's Coffee Roasting Company.
Excuse me a second, I have to turn everything on and off. Okay, can you all hear me? Is everything okay? Well, first of all, I hope you'll be patient with me this evening. I'm not a public speaker. I love being in business. I love sourcing coffee all around the world. I love everything about what I do. This is not one of those things. I love what I do. So please bear with me if you see me looking at my notes. Understand I'm not a public speaker. So anyway, I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. And what I'd like to talk to you about this evening is about being an entrepreneur in somewhat of an unconventional way. Okay? They say we're dreamers. They try to make us into accountants and engineers when you go to college because you should have that safe job. But in our minds, we're rock stars. That accountant shoe just doesn't fit very well. Does that sound like any of you? Okay. We live on the edge. We like pushing the boundaries. We're not afraid of change. No, we're not afraid of change. We embrace change. That defines me. We encourage change. We thrive on change. We are entrepreneurs. We dream. We take chances. We push businesses to the next level. I am a dream chaser and a dream follower. I follow my passions. And for 21 years, I've been in the coffee business, in many different segments of the coffee business, so I've done many different things. But coffee wasn't always my passion. Prior to coffee, I had a dream of being a professional photographer. And that started when I was in high school. My name is Jeff Taylor. Excuse me one second. Just get the PowerPoint. My name is Jeff Taylor. I'm the founder of PT's Coffee. I'm happy to be here with you this evening. But I actually think of myself as a recovering photojournalist. How did I land in Topeka after 24 years? As a passionate young photographer, I was following my dreams. But for me, it didn't start there. It started when I was in high school, just like you. I remember being active in sports. Maybe some of you do as well. But I'd wake up in the morning and I'd pick up the newspaper, and I couldn't wait to see if my picture had made it into the sports section from the game the night before. Of course, there was zero opportunity for this to happen because I wasn't very good, and typically the photographers don't shoot pictures of players that are on the bench. But I still had a dream. I always hoped I would wake up and see that. But that's where my dream started, and that's where I got the photography bug, is when I'd wake up and I'd see that newspaper. You see, the guy that worked in my hometown, worked for the Hutchinson News, from Hutchinson, Kansas, he was exceptional. He was a talented photographer, and as a high school student looking at the newspaper, even I recognized that. And so, as I got inspired by his pictures, when I'd wake up in the morning and see that sports page, one day it dawned on me that, if I want to learn to do this, I need to go meet this guy. And so as a 16-year-old kid in high school, after class one day, I drove my car down to the local newspaper and I parked in the parking lot. After all, if he works at the newspaper, he's got to come to work, right? I parked in the parking lot and I waited over 3 hours, just sitting there. And eventually, a guy hopped out of a car carrying a camera bag. The car he was driving, I'll never forget it, in fact I tease him about it to this day, was a 1968 light powder blue Volvo, 4-door, with a bumper half hanging off and it rattled as he drove. But this guy was the most amazing photographer I'd ever seen, and I stumbled up to him in a shaking voice and I asked him if he would show me how he does what he does. Now he actually could have thought I was a stalker for sitting there 3 hours waiting for him. Fortunately, he was very kind, and after he stopped laughing, he said, "Tell you what, come on in, I'll introduce you to the newsroom." He allowed me to spend the next 3 days with him in the newspaper at the Hutchinson News as a 16-year-old kid, learning what he did. Of course, he made me do all the dirty work. I had to do the dishes, I had to do all the chemicals, I had to do all the bad stuff, but quite honestly, that didn't matter. I was learning what it took to be a photojournalist, and I was around this guy that I knew to be very talented. But the one thing I think I learned, most importantly, and I'll never forget, was taking the initiative. Taking the initiative to go down there and meet him. Because you see, that took courage for a 16-year-old kid to get out of his comfort zone and do something like that, much like all of you might be going through right now. I didn't know what it was then, and my friends just thought I was a crazy kid who carried a camera bag when I was 16 in high school. But that didn't matter to me. My friends were the ones poking fun at me. Never bothered me one bit because I was passionate about being a photographer. And I actually did it for 25 years before I got into the coffee business. So I made a good living at it, and I got a chance to do many things. So don't ever let anybody try to tease you out of doing what you want to do, first of all. But that photographer that I've told you a little bit about, his name is Pete Souza. He's actually the chief photographer for the White House and President Obama. But lest you think this is political, he was also the chief photographer for the White House for President Ronald Reagan. My friend, who I met in high school, has actually seen history as it unfolded over the last 30 years. But the one thing I think I learned most from him was still what I just shared with you, and that is, don't ever be afraid. Pete's lived his life that way, and I've learned from him that I have to always go and do what I want to do and be passionate about it. So after high school, I attended Kansas State University as well. I shouldn't say as well. I attended Kansas State University, Pete's alma mater as well. And I tried to learn what he learned. I tried to be a photojournalist, and I did all the things I needed to do, but I think the one thing I learned most while I was there was that I certainly wasn't the most talented photographer on staff or in college. But I did know one thing. I was willing to work harder and strive more to make pictures, and I was going to have a career in photojournalism. And I did have. I had a passion. I shot pictures with a passion. I thrived on the excitement I felt when my pictures were published in the paper the next day. And it was instant gratification. And I was addicted to that. Winning praise and success on a daily basis, that's what built my confidence. There's me as the college photographer. And that built my confidence. It was sort of a 1970s Instagram, if you will. You guys can probably relate to that. But as a journalist, I had to adjust to my surroundings. There's me as a kid, too. Oh, boy, the baby face. I had to adjust to my surroundings and make the best out of every situation, turning bad opportunities into good ones. I had to succeed every day because my job depended on it. The people who looked at my pictures counted on them being good, and I expected them to be good. I think I put more pressure on myself than my employers or the public. So anyway, I moved to Topeka after some time. I moved to Topeka from a small town called Lewiston, Idaho. Most of you have probably never heard of Lewiston, Idaho. It's a small town in northern Idaho, about 30,000. It's right on the Washington state border. I was, I guess you could say, at the time, in the mid-'80s, I was what you'd call a big fish in a small pond. I shot, and I hustled, and I shot good enough pictures that my pictures often ran on the front page of the paper. Back in the day, pictures ran this big in the paper. This were the good old days. Pictures ran big back in the papers back then, and I was somewhat of a celebrity in town because people would look at my pictures and like, hey, you're that newspaper guy that shot that picture of me, you know? And there was a lot of pride in that. People knew who I was, and I took great pride in the respect that I'd earned by doing the job and hustling as hard as I worked, hustling as hard as I could. But my last year in Idaho, and I share this lightly, but my last year in Idaho was rather exceptional. I got very fortunate. I won a lot of awards that year, and that's what led to me coming to Topeka. My last year in Idaho, there was one specific competition called the Associated Press. Maybe you've heard of AP. The Associated Press had a competition up in the Northwest, and in that particular competition that year, they offered 12 awards. I won 9 of them. Wow. I had a banner year, I'm telling you. That stuff doesn't come along very often, but when you do, you got to own it, right? So that was a good year, and on top of that, later that year, I was also named Regional Photographer of the Year for 4 states and 5 provinces of Canada. So it was one of those exceptional years that you work for and you strive for, and it happened, and the job offers started flowing in. That's how let me back up. Being from a kid from Hutchinson, Kansas, when the job offers started coming in after this banner year, when I got a call from Topeka, Kansas, and a chance to come closer to home with my mom, who was in her early 70s, I took that call. At the time, the Topeka paper was known as one of the best newspapers in the country. Many of you don't know, the editor of National Geographic to this day was a photographer at the Topeka Capital Journal. So it was a well-known newspaper, and to get a call from the Capital Journal, that meant everything. That was success in my mind. So I took that call, I said, yes, I'll take the job, and I moved here without batting an eye. I moved into an apartment, the Snooty Fox apartment in downtown Topeka, sight unseen. And I couldn't wait to get started. But there was one difference that I didn't anticipate when I moved to Topeka. And now it seems kind of silly because you're all used to espresso carts and coffee. Coffee houses are everywhere. But in 1990, when I moved here, there was no coffee shops. There were no espresso carts. But where I moved here from, in northern Idaho, they were everywhere. Every 2 or 3 blocks, there was an espresso cart on the street. There were coffee houses. It was normal up there. It wasn't normal here. That's what kind of left me dumbfounded. I was just at a little bit of a loss. But after a while, I really saw it more as an inconvenience. I didn't dwell on it. It was just I missed my morning cup of coffee. But then one day, a fellow photographer, Thad Alton, had me over to his house for dinner one night. And after dinner, he made us cappuccinos at his house on his home espresso machine. And I'll never forget that. That was like, man, I missed this. That was something I really enjoyed. And from that point on, I realized I got to look harder in Topeka. Surely there is somewhere here that's making a cup of coffee that's worth my $2. That's what it cost back then. So I looked, and there just wasn't any. And at one point, I realized, I've got all the confidence in the world. It doesn't scare me a bit to start a business. I have no idea what that means. But I've got the confidence, and I've got the courage. I'm going to start me a small business. And so I had my business partner. His name's Fred Polson. He managed the local Schlotzsky's in town. And I twisted his arm and talked him into being my business partner, so I didn't actually have to work. I had this perfect scenario all worked out in my head. Fred was going to run the business. I was going to still be a photographer. It seemed like a really good scenario. I'd make a little extra money and not have to do anything, right? It's a dream job. There was one problem. As we opened the business and it started going, it was successful. We had a line out the door. We opened a second cafe. It was successful. We had lines out the door. But there was one problem. My passion really wasn't in the business of running a cafe, and Les can tell you to this day, my passion still isn't in the business of running a cafe. My passion is in coffee. So here we had these 2 cafes, and business was good. Really didn't make me happy because I felt like the product we were giving to our customers wasn't that great. I feel like we were making money, but it wasn't worthy. Does that make sense? And so at one point, I kind of reached out to a bunch of other roasters, and I looked for comparable coffees. I wanted to see just how bad we were. And I couldn't find a coffee that was worthy, any more worthy than what we were serving. So I had to start digging deep, basically, looking for alternatives. I had to find out what it was going to take to turn it around. to bring good coffee to Topeka. And I finally realized that probably the difference was if we didn't roast our own coffee, it wasn't fresh enough. That had to be the difference. All these other roasters were roasting coffee, setting it on a shelf, and then just shipping it to us later. Well, if we were taking their coffee, then we were getting stale coffee. So I thought if we bought a roaster, it would be fresh. That would be the answer. That would change everything. We would then have great coffee. I could then sit back and relax, go on about my photography career, because now we had great coffee. I'm done. I can go on about my career, right? The problem is we bought a roaster. We installed that coffee roaster, and I started roasting coffee. Man, if it didn't suck me in. I was so enthralled by the process that it took to do this. I dug into every detail, and for 2 years, I made notes. I had notebooks this thick full of details. I wanted to know why this coffee tasted different than that one, and I worked hard at it. So after 2 years, I felt like, okay, I've made progress. And after 2 years, I did the same thing I had done before. I got coffee in from all those other roasters around the region, and I put them all on the table and tasted them next to our coffee with pride. I knew we were going to be better because it was fresh, but it wasn't. That was really hard to take because my hypothesis, if you will, didn't work. And so I had to step back and start over again. And I knew there was another change coming because there had to be an answer. I just didn't know what it was yet. But I found that answer in 2001 when I was touring coffee producing countries in Guatemala. Coffee producing country at this point. In 2001, I was on a tour with the Specialty Coffee Association. I was still seeking information. I was on with this group of basically elite coffee people. People that had made names for themselves in the coffee industry that didn't know me from Adam. But man, I knew who they were, and I was on this trip with them. I was sucking up information. I was getting anything I could from them. And we went all over the country of Guatemala into every region to learn about coffee. Some of the farmers I met on that trip are still good friends of mine to this day. But that's when I got the light bulb that went off. I could only ever get out of that roaster the quality of coffee that I put into that roaster. It wasn't freshness that was the key. It was the product. If I didn't buy great coffee, I was never going to get great coffee out of my roaster. I couldn't improve it. I could only roast it. I could only cook it, right? So that's where the story got interesting, but this is kind of the way the rest of the story goes. From that point on, each country started developing, that was the creativity part, by the way. Each country started developing competitions, right? Around this time, the C market, which is how coffee is bought and sold in commodities, right? The C market was at an all-time low. Farmers were actually going bankrupt, right? And so about this time, competitions started forming in all these different countries. And the idea was to identify the top 25 coffees out of each country. And once they identified those top 25 countries, they would then auction off those small lots. Each farmer would submit a small lot, not their entire farm, right? Just a small lot from their farm. And then they would auction these lots off to the highest bidder on the internet. People from all over the world would bid to get, all roasters like myself, would bid to get these coffees. The best part was, guess who the judges were? It was us. It was me. So I started getting invitations once a year. I started getting invitations to go to different countries around the world and judge these competitions. It's called cupping. And I have a little trusty spoon I travel with, and we'd go in and we'd taste coffee. And in the end, we would list these coffees, these farmers. It was all blind. We didn't know who they were. We were just tasting coffees. But we would rank them 1 through 25. The farmers, they were on top of the world. They were getting praise. They were getting feedback. They were getting fulfillment. They were actually producing a great product. The farmers were thrilled. And to boot, that small lot of coffee was going to be auctioned off for $15, $20 per pound. For them, for these farmers, it was a windfall. Even though it was only a small portion of their farm. They were thrilled. But that wasn't the part that was interesting to me. See, I didn't care about paying the high price for that coffee at the auction. I cared about meeting the farmer. I wanted to know which farmer produced that coffee. I want to go meet him and talk to him and work with him next year. When his coffee's not on auction, when I can buy it directly from him, and I can bring that coffee here. So we helped create a little thing called direct trade, and that's what we did, and that's actually to this day how we buy coffee. The benefit of the timing I had was that I was one of the first people down there to buy coffee, and so I ended up getting some of the best coffees out of every origin. I literally have one of the top coffees out of Guatemala, out of El Salvador, out of Panama, out of Peru, Guatemala, or out of Bolivia. I can name them on and on. And I say that with great pride because it took a lot of work and a lot of travel. The job I do isn't easy. Those farmers I've met along the way are my good friends now. I travel to see them every year. And the travel is as exciting and rewarding as everybody thinks the travel must be, right? It's really hard, to be honest with you. Traveling internationally, as much as we do sometimes, is very hard. And yet, I can't imagine a better life, I'll be honest with you. And I'm living a life I could never have dreamed of. So, it all worked out. I met those producers. And now we are selling the best coffees in the world, honestly. I'm personal friends with all the best producers. I travel. It's a lot of work, but it's so much fun. I even met my wife on one of these trips. We were both judges at a competition in Ecuador. She was judging as well. She's from Colombia, and they'd invited her down to judge the competition just as they invited me. It's a little bit of a long story, but the short version, my short version, she followed me around for a week. End of the week, I gave her a chance to have dinner with me. You know, her version might be a little different, but it all worked out for me, so it's okay. So some call me an entrepreneur because I started a business. I believe I'm an entrepreneur because I had the courage, I had the confidence, and I had the creativity to make a difference in business, to push the business forward when it most needed it, and then to dream again as if I was starting all over and never stop dreaming. We've now been in business for 21 years, going on 22 years, and we still have nothing but dreams, visions of exceptional milestones ahead of us. We are excited every day when we go to work. I look forward to greeting each of you someday soon in one of my coffee shops, and you filling me up with your stories of success. Not every entrepreneur is the same. Your story will be completely different, but I can't wait to hear it. I just hope you'll be courageous. I hope you'll be confident, and I hope you'll be creative. I hope you'll become an entrepreneur. A little slow there, but there you go. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions if anybody has anything or has any curiosities about what I do. The term specialty coffee. Yeah. Back in the 90s, when we first got started, the term was used, but really it wasn't. It was just a name only. Because all coffee was a commodity back then, and in countries of origin where the farmers work, they didn't care about the coffee. They were pulling everything off the tree at the same time, running it through dirty mills. It didn't matter to them because the price they got was based on the commodities market. It was based on gamblers, people who were betting money one way or the other, and so they had no control over their future. So they didn't care about the coffee. And so the world of specialty coffee truly began in the early 2000s. About the same time I started those trips to origin. And I think our first direct trade coffee, our first official direct trade coffee was in El Salvador in 2006, and we still buy that coffee. It's called Finca Los Plenes. It's Sergio Ticas, and actually this is Sergio in one of these pictures, if I can go back far enough real quick here. There you go. That's Sergio, and that is Finca Los Plenes, and that's my wife. Don't ask her version of the story, mine's right. So, yes, ma'am.
Was it hard to start your own business?
You know, I heard some people talking earlier about what it takes to start a business. You know what it takes? It takes courage. It takes confidence. That's it. Get started there. Don't be afraid to start your own business. The rest of it, ask for help. Les here, he can help you with 90% of the problems you need to solve when you start a small business. There are people out there who can help you with the details that you need to learn. You'll need to learn those things. But to start a business, you need to have passion, you need to have confidence, and you need to have the courage to do it. The rest of it, you can learn. And there's people out there willing to help you. Yes, sir? I do. His name's Fred Polson. He's the P in PTs. I sometimes call him Fred with a PH because he's the P in PTs, but his last name is Polson. And he actually, when we started the business, he worked at Schlotzsky's. He was the manager at several Schlotzsky's. And that's why I was able to convince him to come in and run our coffee shop, because he had the skills that allowed me to keep my job. Yes?
How old were you when you started your coffee business?
30 years old. I'd had a good, long, I guess, 14-year career in photojournalism at that point. So, hey, what didn't even scare me to walk away. I literally made the decision to quit my job as a photojournalist in about 2 hours. I had just reached the point with coffee where it was a no-brainer. I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't know how it was going to work out, but I knew it would. Yeah.
Weren't you afraid that it wouldn't work out though?
Never. You know why? It's not an option. It's all I got. It's not an option. Failure is not an option. Success is all there is. I think there's a rap song. Yes?
If you didn't like stalk the dude, do you think you would,
Awesome. That's good. Yeah, I did. I kind of stalked him.
where do you think you would be right now?
Where would I be right now? You know, it's interesting. I would probably still be living in Hutchinson, because it was that passion to become a photographer and meeting him that really did change the path in which I followed. And so if I wouldn't have had the courage to go down there and meet him, I was working in a restaurant at the time. I had a job offer from another restaurant to go over and cook for them. I'd probably still be living in Hutchinson, Kansas, working somewhere at a local business, quite honestly. My life, I would never have done any of the things I've done. And 1 second, I just want to share. As much as you think the exciting part of my life has been the coffee part, you know, having to travel all over the world, let me just remind you, I got to go visit a volcano when I was a photojournalist. I covered a World Series in 1985. I've been to, there used to be something called the Goodwill Games. There was an Olympic competitor. I got to cover that. As a photojournalist, I got to do some of the most amazing things that I would never have dreamed of. So I've been actually very fortunate to have 2 really good careers. I guess it works hard.
So would you say it was like opportunity cost? You kind of gave up being a photographer for so long to
Yeah.
be in the coffee business.
Yeah.
But you're saying that you giving that up was a good thing
Yep,
because you had more opportunities than you would,
yep.
you know.
I don't, at the time, I didn't know what my opportunity really was. I just knew it's what I wanted to do. And I knew once I got started in what I wanted to do, I'd find my opportunity. I just knew I loved coffee. I loved the community around the coffee shop. The business part, Fred was helping me take care of. Les has helped us take care of it. We've had lots of help on that, so we learned to hire accountants and help us with those things. But the part of the business I loved was coffee, and I loved socializing with people when they come into the coffee shop and meeting friends. And those 2 things, I was like, man, this is where I belong. This is a non-alcoholic bar. This is fantastic. You know? I'm like, and so once I made the decision to go, I walked in and I told my boss, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you serious? You're going to give up your career to work behind a coffee shop counter?" And I went, "Yeah, thank you. See ya." And I walked. That was it. I worked another 4 days, and he said, "You know what, Jeff? You don't even need the 2 weeks. You just go ahead and go." And I went, "Great, see ya." And that was it. I had made up my mind, and I've never looked back since. And I think that's it. You asked, how do you start a business? You can't look back. You can never look back. I mean, I've been doing this 21 years, and Ryan, who knows me over here, he'll probably tell you, I still feel like I'm just getting started. I actually met with senatorial candidate Greg Orman earlier today, and he came up to me and congratulated me on my success, and it literally left me speechless, because I don't feel successful. I'm not successful. I'm just getting started. I still have so many dreams and challenges I want to do. It's like, it drives me nuts. I think it drives my wife nuts, actually. But it drives me nuts because I still have so much passion and so many things I can see out there that I still want to accomplish, that I really do feel like I'm just getting started. And so if you want to start a business, what you really have to do is believe in yourself and want to do it, and then make plans to make the rest of it take care of itself. Anybody else? Yes?
What are the vision? What's the vision? What are your dreams?
Part of it I
What's the
can't
future?
tell you.
Okay.
So I'm under a signed, sealed document that says I can't share those things.
Okay.
But we do expand to open more coffee shops. We plan to expand and open more coffee shops. One of the changes in our industry is a lot of people out there who own cafes that we sold coffee to, they loved what we do. And so they want to do it too. So now they're all buying coffee roasters, which means I'm losing customers.
Right.
So we're just opening our own shops, because we can do that better than they can too. So we're trying to expand as rapidly as we can. And then we've got other irons in the fire that go slightly different directions that are allowing us to expand as well. I can't get into a lot of those.
That's all right.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you
Oh, sorry.
think you're better than Starbucks?
You know, yes. Yeah, that's it. I'll say we're different. I'll say we're different. They're Coca-Cola, we're a pure bottle of water. I mean, that's the difference. Starbucks is as much a sugar business and a milk business as it is coffee business. Coffee is completely, it's a widget to them. Starbucks coffee is really just a widget to them. I know because I know who they buy coffee from. They don't buy the best coffees. They don't even buy close to the best coffees. And I'll give you a very simple equation, a simple analogy. Okay, a mountain is shaped like this, right? General agriculture principles. The best coffee grows at the top of the mountain because it's cooler weather at night, right? And it's hotter during the day. And therefore there's more stress on a plant, which makes a plant produce better when there's more stress on it, right? It also takes that plant longer to grow because it is such a higher altitude, there's less oxygen in the air, right? So the best coffee, the most dense coffee, the stuff that's absolutely just sweet when you taste it, is at the top of the mountain. But there's also the least amount of it. So Starbucks doesn't buy that because there's just not enough of it. They used to. Back in 1986, 1987, 1988, when they were still just 2 stores in Seattle, they were genuinely buying good coffees back then, and they were a coffee company then. But once they went public, it became about McDonald's format. It became about opening as many stores as you could, systemize things, and crank them out to make money. It became less about the product and more about the money. Does that make sense? We're still so small that we're really about the product, and I want to stay that way as long as I can because that's where my passion is. I haven't shared that with you. Yeah.
How much did you invest in your business? Like,
We started our business with $12,000, and it was. Let's see if I can remember how to break that down. It was $6,000 borrowed from a bank to buy an espresso machine, and $2,000 borrowed from 3 different people: my family, Fred's family, and a former staff photographer who used to live in Topeka, who had since moved to Seattle, who heard what I was doing and said, "It's a no-brainer. How much money do you want?" And he wanted me to keep the $2,000 and not pay. I borrowed the money and I paid everybody back in 6 months. We borrowed $12,000. We paid it all back in about 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. It was a long time ago. But Jim Brent, who was the photographer at the time, who moved to Seattle, he's told me many times since, we're still friends on Facebook, and he still asks me, he's like, "You sure I can't put my $2,000 back into your account?" And I was like, no. So we started on basically no money out of our own pocket. No money out of our own pocket. We borrowed $6,000 from family and friends, and then $6,000 from a bank, using the other $6,000 as collateral. So I think you had a question, right? Oh, you got it? Okay.
okay, what were your major struggles or challenges in your business, like from starting and now? Or...
Boy, that's a tough one. You asked me to bare my soul. That's actually, I can't tell you. There's so many. We've made every mistake in the book. We really have. But we're still here. Why are we still here?
Because you work for it.
No, because we won't quit. I always tell people, why am I successful? Because I'm too stupid to quit. That's what it boils down to. I refuse to fail. And so we've made mistakes. Fred and I kick each other a little bit for it. We, beat each other up, not physically, but verbally or whatever. We get frustrated, and then the next day we come back in and we figure out, okay, what do we got to do to fix this? And we fix it. And then we move on, we forget about it until we make our next mistake. So you can't be afraid to make mistakes, I guess is what it boils down to. If I could say anything is, don't ever be afraid to make mistakes, because if you don't make mistakes, you're not learning. You're playing it safe. And I'm not fond of playing it safe. I like to reach for as much as possible.
How do you keep a business going? Like, how do you keep it going as far as you do?
Hard work. Hard work, yeah. It's passion. You got to love what you do. Seriously, once you find your passion, whatever that is, once you find something you absolutely love, you don't even ask that question anymore, because you know what you want to do.
But isn't it hard to balance the checkbooks and everything like that?
No, that's the easy part, because there's lots of people out there who aren't creative thinkers, who aren't courageous, and who aren't confident, who are more than happy to take your check to pay them to sit in an office and balance numbers. And they love doing that. And I love them for that because I don't want to do that. So it works out great. And their life is no better or worse than mine. It's just different. They like what they do there. They don't want to take risks. They like being numbers people. And I'm all for that because I'm not a numbers guy. I like taking risks and looking for the reward at the other end, you know? I like looking outside the box and trying new things. Yeah.
How long were you in business before you took a personal paycheck?
Actually, not very long. Because we were, again, my industry is a little bit unique because there was no coffee here. And Fred and I made one good decision when we first started, and that is when we opened our cafe first, we knew we had to put espresso in the name because there wasn't any espresso here at the time, but we knew there were people here that had heard of it. And we thought, you know, if espresso's in our name, at least the people who have heard of it will come check us out and see what we're about. And that worked. And so we got busy probably within 3 months. We had customers who were actually actively out recruiting more customers for us. They were bringing their friends in. They wanted everybody to know about us. And the first customers we had were the ones that knew what espresso was, and they wanted to come get it. And so we were fortunate enough that we actually got to start taking a paycheck. Now, keep in mind that paycheck wasn't more than like $200. It wasn't much money, and it wasn't going to go very far, but it was something. You know, we weren't putting money back into the business anymore, and that counts a lot. Yes, ma'am.
You have a slogan for your business?
We do. Without the love, it's just coffee. That's been our slogan for a long time. In fact, Southwest Airlines, has anybody ever seen that commercial? Boy, I'm really considering it a little. The Southwest Airlines just changed their motto and about their heart being in the business, and I'm like, man, that's very close to our motto. Doggone it. Anyway. But yeah, we've been using that slogan, without the love, it's just coffee, since 1996. So, anybody else?
We've got time for one more question.
And the Royals are on, so.
What is your mission statement?
What is our mission statement? Oh, that's changed. That changes all the time. I should know that off the top of my head, and I don't. Excellent, great coffee. Exceptional coffee, I believe it is. Exceptional coffee. Man, I know this phrase. I think I even came up with it. I'm just drawing a blank right now. I apologize. Exceptional coffee, lifelong friendships, and the wisdom to appreciate both. So that's our mission statement. We truly are a company we try to make our company about partnerships and about friendships and about working with our clients. But it's not just our clients, it also goes to our staff. It also goes to everybody that works for us. We try to be very family friendly. We try to, it's you know, if somebody's got a problem in our staff, everybody on our staff's got a problem. We deal with it together, sort of thing. We try to. It's not always possible, but that's our ideal. For instance, we've offered health insurance in our company. It started out as a small coffee shop with 12,000. We've offered health insurance to all of our staff. Most people don't take it because we employ a lot of young people, and they obviously think they're never going to get sick. But we've offered health insurance as early as, I think, the second year in business. We've been offering health insurance to our staff. And again, a lot of them don't take it, but I think we probably have at least 30% that do. So we have at least 30 or 40% that do take us up on the health insurance. So, okay. Anybody else? Somebody else had a hand up too. Okay.
I know that we are very grateful to hear your story and hear that you're doing great things here in Topeka. I know your story will definitely resonate with a lot of our students as they continue their YD journey. I would now like to invite some very special students to the stage. As I call your names, just come on up here. And if I butcher your name, I really do apologize. So, Eli Minson from Highland Park. April Starrett from Hope Street. David Walker, Topeka High. Tommy Soto, Topeka High. Lainey Stalcup, Topeka West. Julie Jacobson, Topeka West. Hunter Green, Seaman. And Megan Rossiter, Silver Lake.
Well, what a good-looking group of students, right?
Yeah.
These students are daring. They went on a mission that we haven't done before yet in Topeka. We created a competition called the elevator pitch. You guys may have heard this technique, but they took on the mission of how to present themselves in less than 30 seconds to win a contact, whether it be a college professor or possibly a future business owner or possibly a future employer as well. These students competed in their classrooms, and then they became a classroom winner. And they went on even further then to compete we called Top of the Tower. Where Les and I, we tried out some elevators at the Bank of America building downtown, and it took 30 seconds to go from the bottom floor to the 16th floor. We figured this is perfect. Later on, we got approval we can have dinner there at the top of the tower, which is very nice. The cake was pretty extreme, wasn't it? We have some fun photos you guys might have seen up there as well. So these students all competed, and they're all classroom winners. And from these winners here, you can see that they're already leaders in their classroom as well. So they haven't seen this video yet, but we want to go ahead and play this video here as well. This is it. And if you hear a hyena, that was me laughing, okay? There's a lot of fun going on here.
What floor?
The top one, 16. Hi, I'm Mrs. Woodward. It's nice to meet you. My name is Elena Stalka, and I'm a senior at Topeka West High School. During school, I'm highly involved in the mentor program. To be one of the most prominent photographers in the Casey metro area within the next 5 years.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah. I plan on getting my business degree at either Washburn or K-State, and I'm already planning on enrolling with the
Nice to meet you. So let me share with you what choosing me will be an excellent investment to you and how my diverse skills will benefit you. I'm serving as sophomore class president. I'm an honor student. I've played in 2 sports last year.
Wow, I didn't mean to see you again so soon. I really liked your presentation last night. Wow, you really know how to drive the point hard.
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm a junior at Topeka West High School. I'm involved with student council. It's my 2nd year as a crew leader, which means we mentor the freshmen. I'm currently undecided on what I would like to do in the future, but whatever I do, I hope to be successful in.
I'm 17, currently at Topeka High, and I'm looking to start a business in real estate. And right now, I'm not quite sure where I want to start, how I want to start in it, but I mean, if you have some tips or anything, if you could get in touch with me and we can make sure I'm
Organizing. I was very passionate about my studies in entrepreneurship and accounting, and I'm determined to manage my own business someday. I believe that dedication is the key to achieving success, which is why I dedicate myself to achieving leadership roles in everything that I do, whether it's playing baseball from my high school or making a tough decision in my job.
Entrepreneurship also serves a great foundation for what I want to do in the future. When I graduate from Stanford University, I plan to work in corporate finance and banking. And I've always had excellent math skills, keen attention to detail, and strong leadership ability. And I think that having those qualities will make me a great asset to any company. Do you have any contact information I could use to ask?
Nice to meet you, April. Because sometimes these doors don't shut. You might, but the operator is not too sharp. I'm afraid to hit this number. I do not know what's going to happen. The door will either close or not. Let's see. Ah! Oh, man.
Did a fabulous job here. Let's give them a big hand. But also, they have no idea who won the competition. If you didn't know who that celebrity was, then that was a very own Rick Lejeune there from Washington University. All right, so these students already got a prize as far as being a classroom winner. They get points that turn into venture capital for the students with our program. They also had a free dinner. So they already won the competition, but we're going to go even further with that. So starting with 2nd place. And by the way, this was hard to pick winners. Especially, I want to see all these students succeed, and they're already coming leaps and bounds when they were. But 2nd place was a $30 gift card to PT's. Megan. And first prize will win this chair that was donated, if you guys can see behind you there, by BA Designs. First prize is to take this chair to their chair, by the way. Eli from Highland Park. All right, you can go and grab a seat there. Good job, everybody. Go ahead and grab a seat and take your seat to your seat. It rolls really fast. If you ever want to be in a competition for a rolly chair, I would pick that one. Nice work, everybody. All right, so next let's talk about some winners of a scavenger hunt. Anybody do the scavenger hunt today? Raise your hand if you did that. Let's draw some. That was when you came in the door. We had a network opportunity to ask different questions to different people. Let's see. Let's give a hand for Priscilla here coming up here. She is our local Vanna White. Pick one on there?
Yeah. Okay. We'll pick 5 total.
5 total, okay. Read it. Cassandra Hernandez.
Let's go.
Good. They're winning gift cards to PT's Coffee. They have actually really good coffee. It's a chocolate drink. It was frozen mixed. Super tasty. And what was the raw egg? No, wait. Hard-boiled egg wrapped in bacon. Paleo. Super tasty. Put it in your pocket. Take it to school. Just joking. Don't put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next here? Let's see. Rob L. There he is. Okay. All right. Good job, man. Brooklyn.
So you had to go to the emergency room.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
My goodness. We'll save our prize.
Well, Mr. Moore will give you a gift card.
Mr. Moore! Yeah!
Not for you to give to
Not for you.
We're going to check up with you.
There you go, exactly. Perfect.
Let's see, we got 2 more left.
Shake it up. We've got 2 more left.
2 more left. Hunter! All right.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, last one.
Okay.
Shake it up really good.
A good one?
Get a good one, Jake.
Good one. This one's sticky. Just joking. All right, we have Alex Munoz. Where you at, Alex? There you go. Now, if you want to know how to use those gift cards, just give me a call. I'm happy to show you how.
For a small fee.
For a small fee, that's right. I won't even take up just half of it, you know.
Yeah.
So. All right. So if you guys see, the Youth Entrepreneurs Program in Topeka is really growing. And one of the things about this event is we're also looking for some volunteers that can help us out in the classroom. So if you like what we're doing here, you'd like to see the progress of the students, see me afterwards or one of our directors here from Youth Entrepreneurs to find out how you can be a business plan advisor or a volunteer in the classroom. And I hope you guys all had a great time tonight. One thing before you leave, if you look in your pamphlet and your insert there, we have some things called market days coming up. This is where the students get to run a business for a day. And you guys are invited. You can go to any school you want, as often as you want. Buy whichever you like as well. If you look excited, go ahead and purchase that. Anybody else got some good plans for market days already? Any students already? You got some ideas? What are you doing?
Brownies and ice cream.
Brownies and ice cream? Woo! Anybody else got a good idea for market day?
My whole class.
Whole class. There we go. That's a teacher from Highland Park there. Very good. Want to thank you guys all for coming out as well. And also, thanks again, Jeff. You said you weren't a great speaker. Why you got to fib to us like that, you know? Let's give Jeff another big hand.